What's up, y'all? It's Tenikca from Hits with the Misses, and yes, I am back with more of our homeschool curriculum for 21 and 22. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button so you get a nice little notification anytime I have a new video, and you can see more of these in your feed as they come. And let's jump into it. Today, per the title, we are talking about all things Black history. And if you have known me for just a little bit, and if you are new here, you should know I do not believe Black history is just a subject. In our home, in our family, Black history is a fiber. Black history is a tether to our past that propels us into our future. I don't, nor does my husband, teach just like during Black History Month about Black history. We don't review, some common names that are on t-shirts that we have every year. It is a thread of our life. Allow me to give you an example. We were watching a movie, and in the movie there was like a court scene and a judge, and both of my kids were like, "Oh, a judge, like Thurgood Marshall." Yeah, but Thurgood Marshall was a judge. That's not him. You know, my kids like, my favorite cowboy is Robert Lemmings. It is a thread of our lives. My kids will pick stories from, for bedtime from these books. And we have another like Black history bedtime stories book. And then, we read over and over again. It is not just a subject. My, kids will pick up one of these if they have a question about someone. Like we were learning about Frederick Douglass, and they wanted a question. They had a question about like the specific years of his life or something. It was very specific. So, they know they can come here and find that information. Will I also find some fun printables? Like when we were learning about Frederick Douglass, we made puppets. Yes, they are still children. I still believe learning should be fun. For this upcoming year, I would really like to focus a little bit more on activists and artists. And they know a whole gamut as it is. I would just like to lean into that a little bit more. And then with that, with our civics and economics, we'll also be learning about Black history, Black culture, Black movements, Black inventors, business people, all of that in those as well. My plan, because it is, like I said, it's a fiber, not a subject. So it's going to be integrated into so many other things that we do. If we have an ice cream party, if we're playing race car, like it's going to be built into all the things that we do. Now, as for how I plan and what resources I use. So when I am planning my year, I just kind of have like a mental map, which I'm sure is very specific. Let me break that down. So maybe I want to focus on, like last year was a lot of like zoologists, people in science, inventors, things of that sort. And so this year, like I said, I want to focus more on, activists and artists, and some more inventors. So those will be my mental map. Now, to translate that, I will look at maybe what we're learning on or focusing in economics and civics to bridge it, or I'll be like, we're just going to study this artist. And then from there, I'll gather resources. That's the way it just works for me. There are some things that like I will always have handy. We are always building our library, you know, and what I showed you was a very small portion of the books that we have. So when I say gather resources, like if we're learning about Black music, I just might run up and, you know, grab the history or rap book. Or I might get something from the library. I might find this YouTube video. I might find this info sheet on a certain person. Things like that. So I start with my mental map, which again is kind of like how I'm feeling, what I'm leaning towards. I will try to either make it coordinate or is this going to be its own thing. Next is my kids' interest, right? So my kids are all about bass reefs. And so I was like, okay, y'all are all who else can we learn about in that arena? Because that's all they could talk about. And it was to the point where it's like, I'm Bass Reeves. No, I'm Bass Reeves. Like, who else can we learn about? Which is how Robert Lemons came about. Because you all can be great. There are lots of great people out there that you can emulate, you know? So then we learned about Robert Lemons. And here's the thing. When I say this is a thread, we also aren't learning it at just a specific time or a specific place. It could be in the car. It could be at the breakfast table. It could be in the middle of math. It is a continuous thread. And I say this over and over again to reiterate that, because if you are attempting to teach Black history or want to do more, I think that's the way to go. Because when you put Black history in a box, it's going to stay there. Just the same way you do with math. If you were to only relegate math to addition and subtraction at this time of day, there would be no let's count money at the grocery store. There would be no measuring if we want to build something. Like, you see what I'm saying? If we just kept it in this box. You can apply that same principle to Black history, to allyship, which I'll get to in just 1 second. So my plan for us, like with COVID, I'm sure all of you experienced this. There were a lot of things not available or shut down. So where we would have been able to go and see art and artists do their work, or performances, or displays, all this stuff, we couldn't. And so we really had to just open a new world for them through books and YouTube videos, our experiences. And I think that really helped me be way more intentional than I was. And I was already kind of on fire about it. Because I would just use all these different things to incorporate it and whatever. Well, I couldn't. And even, you know, like Veterans Day, my kids were like, what is a veteran? And I explained to them. But on top of that, I also explained to them how Black veterans are treated significantly worse and experience, you know, harsher racism. They don't get access to service, like all of these things. And then I also had the joy of watching, you know, Red Tails with them and letting them see, you know, this perseverance and education and excellence, right? So it's both sides of the coin. And while we can do something as fun as a movie night, we can still learn about something we talked about 4 or 5 days ago, you know? And so that is what I mean by a thread, a fiber, a tether. It should be continuous. It should be ongoing. If we learn about one artist, does that mean I'm not going to bring up other artists we've learned about or other artists like it? No, not at all. And James has asked me regularly, Mom, who is your favorite in Black history? I don't know. I can't even choose from a subject. Like, I can't even choose my favorite athlete. Like, I don't know. And he has said, he was like, well, I just want to keep learning about all of them so I can choose my favorite. If you can, kid, sure, go ahead, choose your favorite. I'm going to keep teaching y'all I can. So you have all the correct options and answers. Sorry about the light. This is a time I could record. This is the light we got. I apologize. Anyway, allyship. Let's segue to allyship. Part of the reason it is imperative for me to teach my children our history is to teach them to practice non-performative allyship. What does that mean? It means that you do just and right things with, for, and by misaligned communities of color, mistreated communities of color and or minorities. And through them learning about their history and people that stood up, people that did what wasn't expected of them, people that persevered in spite of, people that were doubted, people that were cheated, people that were beaten and still able to, succeed. Them seeing that, them learning about that person, them seeing the effects of it in the present allows them to say, okay, I can stand up for these people. I can donate money to these causes. I can assist here and not expect a fanfare, a pat on the back. They know, like, this is what is correct. If we are watching a movie, like, it could just have animals in it. Like, we aren't even talking about people of color, okay? Just have animals in it. And they might see, an animal left out or anything. They will be like, you don't exclude people. You include them to the best that they can if they aren't hurting you. Like, it's important for me to teach them non-performative allyship. And I use the thread of our Black history to do that. Now, as far as allyship goes, do we also learn about history of Native Americans? Most certainly. Do we also learn about the history of Mexico and other Latin countries? Yes, we most certainly do. Do we learn about struggles and conflicts other places? Absolutely. Do we learn about how we can help the environment? Yes. Allyship isn't just aligned to humans, number one, nor is it specifically to people of color. Now, if you want to get into it, is that where a lot of our resources be? Because people of color are greatly, greatly, greatly more affected by this? Most certainly. But our allyship runs full scope. And to do that, I think whatever you're going to do, you need to start with a little bit of history and bring it to the present so your children know what to do to impact the future. On that, I'm going to cut this off because this can get really, really long. As you can tell, this is a passion of mine. Per usual, if you want more info or to see this stuff in practice, comment, send me a message, follow me on socials, and I'll be showing things there. Okay? Hope this